Yesterday we began the new parak Nishach Kerdikis or Kerjakis. It seems that there was this demon who would overtake a person if you drank wine from the wine press, and the way to get rid of it was to eat broiled lean meat with diluted wine. Okay, and we had Rav Amram Chasida being abused by the people of the Reish Galusa, the Avadim Reish Galusa, and we segue into now the abuse of Rav Sheshes that took place as a result of him being part of by the Reish Galusa. Okay, so now Amalei Reish Galusa Rav Sheshes once Samech Zayin Amid Beis, Samech Zayin Amid Beis, where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines to the bottom, 8 lines to the bottom. Amalei Reish Galusa Rav Sheshes. My time alay soyed margaban. Why don't you eat by us? So Amalei Reish Galusa said, "Leimali avdei," because your avodim they're not faleslich. They're not trustworthy when it comes to kashrus. Why? The chashidi ha'evim min achai. V'chayish that they'll be over in the isra of evim min achai. Amalei miyemer Reish Galusa said, "How do you know this?" Samlei hashtem achvinu lach. I'll show you. Amalei the shamei Rav Sheshes told his personal shamis. Steal one of Aisli the Kara Micheversa. Go ahead, go into the kitchen, steal one of the legs of the animals that they're preparing. So Aisile, Rav Sheshes Gabai brought it to the leg. Amalahu. And then the Reish Galusa servant said to the servants of Reish Galusa, Ahad Mule had made the Chevasa. Go ahead, I want to see take the cuts of the animal, and I want you to put it all in front of me at the same time. So I see Tlas Kare, I see Bakame. They brought the animal, and it only had 3 legs. Amalahu, this animal only has 3 legs. Every animal has 4 legs. So they say, "Oh no, wait 1 minute. We must have made a mistake." So pasuk I see chodemi almo isivnu kamei. So what do? Went in the kitchen to get the 4th leg. They chopped it off a live animal, which is considered evim and achai, and they brought it out. So Amalei the Shamei, their Sheshes then told the Shamis, "Oisri nami lahachdidach." The one that we stole, place it over there, and now. Oisvei, he put it there, and Amalahu, right? Rav Sheshes said to Reish Galusa's servants, "Hi bas kamesh reglaim have." This animal had 5 legs, so he proved that it was evim and achai, and therefore he had every reason not to eat by these people. Amalei Reish Galusa said, "Hachi, good, you don't trust my servants. The Ovid kamei demarvelecha. Let your own servants prepare the food, and we'll eat together, and you don't have to worry about evim and achai." So Amalei lechai. So Rav Sheshes said, "Great, no problem." So krivu taka kamayu, the Reish Galusa's servants who didn't make the meal, they brought the table before Rav Sheshes. Remember, they used to eat on these private tables. The Isi Kamei Bisra, they brought the basa that the Reish Galusa's that the shamis of Rav Sheshes had prepared. However, with a little addendum. Reisivu Kamei Ristana de Chanka Chama. They took a piece. And they put a portion, and in that portion they had a small bone. When they were hoping that Rav Sheshes would eat it, and he would die. Rav Sheshes would eat it, and he would die. In other words, these guys didn't fool around. You went ahead and you disproved us. You showed us off to the Reish Galusa that we're thieves, that we're evim and achai, we're not trustworthy. I'll show you. And they put a bone in to kill him. He felt, he felt that, and he saw there was this bone in there. And what did he do? He took the meat and he put it in the sudar. He put it in a kerchief and he hid it. After everyone ate, Amid Aleph, he said, "In give casa the kaspa." So the servants, they started a rumor. They said, "You know what? A silver cup was stolen." They were looking for the cup, and they found Rav Sheshes with a hidden piece of meat. So Amalei, so the Shamis said to Reish Galusa, "Chazi marg like mechel kaboi elu tzurani." You see that Rav Sheshes, he only comes here to cause us trouble. He says we're evim and achai. Then we do all our best. We let his servant go ahead. His own Shamis make food, and he doesn't eat by us. He's only here to stare us. So Amalahu, I'm not mechel achli. Said Rav Sheshes, I taka did eat it. The time of the chivra, but I tasted in this taste. I tasted a taste of white, meaning it's like it was a leper. Amalei, chivra. We didn't make it today. Smashma other days they did make it. They said they would serve it to the goyim. Amulu butkud v'duchte says, look at the animal. Let's go take a look at the animal, and you'll see. So the Amr Chista, uchma v'chivra b'uchma looks at. If you have a black spot on a white animal, a white spot on a black animal, that's a sign of a sickness. Butku ashche, they went and they checked, and they found out what it was. They found out it was what? It was an animal that had sarasso, leprosy, whatever, a sick animal. The bottom line is, Rav Sheshes has gone ahead and bested the servants of Reish Galusa. The first by going ahead and proving gave him an achai. Secondly, by showing they wanted to kill him and avoiding that. And now they're going to make a third attempt to kill him. King Konofik, Rav Sheshes, who was blind, remember Rav Sheshes was blind. Korulei Beira, they dug a pit. V'shadulei tzifta ilabe, and they threw a mat over it. V'amalei lesim aleinach. Okay, come, let's go. Lie down. And you're going to lie down on the couch. The couch is going to fall in. You'll be dead. Nachale Rav Chisda me'achurei. Rav Chisda saw what was going on, so he nachar. He made a noise. I don't know. He sneezed or he grunted. He made some type of noise. In other words, like that you get your attention. So what happened? Amalei liyanuka pasukli pesukech. He turned to a yanuka and he said, "What's your pasuk, guys?" This is the second time we've had that recently. You remember the Gemara in Kamsa Bar Kamsa that they sent Nero to destroy Jerusalem, and he shot an arrow this way, that way, the next way. Finally, Yerushalayim. He asked the child what pasuk. Pasuk said something about basically whoever destroys Yerushalayim himself is going to get it. And Nero just said, "You're not going to take it out of me." And he went and became a ger. That was the Gemara we had then. So this is the second time we have what over there. It was a goy going and doing a pasuk. Over here, it's a Jew doing a pasuk. And what did the boy say? Amalei, netelecha al yamincha al smocha. Turn to your right or your left. No, don't go straight ahead and sit on this mat and fall in and be killed, but rather go to your right or your left. So Amalei the Shamish, Sheshes told the Shamish, my kochaz is, what do you see? Amalei tzipisa the shadya. I see a mat on the ground. Amalei hadami, and I turn away from it. Labasa the nafik. Amalei Rav Chisda said, Minaha b'yod amar. How do you know not to go on the mat? Amalei chada the nachali mar. First of all, you made a noise. The pasuk yanuka besuka, right? In other words, I heard a pasuk from the child, and finally, these people you can be trusted. So the big shilas over here is the following: there's a concept of lo senachish, of not going ahead and believing in nichush. So if the Gemara describes if a bear falls comes in front of you, or a piece of bread falls into your mouth. In Judaism, in black superstition, look at broken mirror, walking on the ladders, and people use these as signs. This is leisanachashu. So why is this not leisanachashu, or is it a problem of leisanachashu? So when Nero went ahead and did it, we can't ask the question because he's a guy. But over here you have Rav Sheshes, the great Rav Sheshes, being soymech on the words of a child. What's the problem? Why is that not nicher? So I'm going to share with you a very interesting Rambam. Okay, this Rambam is in Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Hey of Avodas Kachavim, right? I think I have it at the top over here. No, it's cut off. Okay. Misha Omar, someone says, Dirazu Shebanisi Simin Tov Hayisalai. Isha Zusha Nasasi, this woman that I married, Ubehema Zusha Kanisi that I acquired, Murveches, right? Haisa me Esha Kanisi Asharti. From the time I bought it, but I got wealthy. In other words, it's been a good luck charm, sort of say, purchasing the house, right? Or a good luck charm of purchasing this animal or getting married. This is what we need. Someone who asks a child, Eze pasuk ataloime. What pasuk are you learning? Imam alad pasuk min habrachos yismach. If he tells you a pasuk from the brachas, be happy. V'yayim ezeh simin toiv. Kol elu chayotze behen muta. These are permitted. Hoyav lekivin maisav. Since you didn't go ahead and predicate an action on this, nor did you hold back from doing an action. In other words, if I'm not saimich on the actions of a pasuk to discern a future event that I will act upon it, then it's only a siman on something that did. In other words, something is good happened to me, So the pasuk is a siman that something good happened to me, but not a siman that something will happen to me in the future. If it's a siman toiv, but a person can't act upon it. Hoyav like kivin maisav, he didn't direct his actions. That's permitted. Okay, that's the Rama. Now, this apparently would be problematic with Agamara. So we have over here on the side the Kesef Mishnah. The Kesef Mishnah was the Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Kairai. Rabbeinu Mefarish, and the Rambam explains the Simonim Elu Eina Ella. Let me see if I can get this a little larger. Yeah. Only speaking about the past, not the future. The koshalesha possibly pisukayach nira shayimnoyim lasais masayim alpiem, that it appeared they were holding back doing actions based upon what they heard. Okay, now what do we need over here? Ach kosha, vidigarsina bereish perik misha achsu, sam chesam and aleph. The Rav Sheshes nimna melasais maisa. Rav Sheshes held back from walking straight. Mifnei she'atinuk amaloi netelecha al yiminecha ayal smanacha. So you see that the pasuk was used to go ahead and act in future events, not like the Rambam past events. From Agamara is the kash and the Rambam. You see from over here that you could use it for future events. So why is it a nichush? V'yeshloimar the shiny hasam. It's different over there, meaning by us. Shlei somach al pasuk atinik levad. Rav Sheshes wasn't somach on the words of the tinik alone. Ela denachale Rav Chisda. Remember, Rav Chisda grunted. V'yoid davichashidi avdei d'leimayli, because the avodim and the Reish Galusa were not good guys. The Gemara we just concluded. I wasn't somach only on the pasuk. I also had other proofs that I'm in trouble. I had the noises of Rav Chisda, and I had the base behavior of these terrible people. So says the Beis Yosef, the guest of Mishnah, in a case where you're not totally samech on the interpretation, the words of the Yenuka, then it's okay. When is it not okay? When that's the only game in town. That's all you're using. That is his teretz. Zeu das Rabbeinu. Aval smag sefer mitzvos gedolos kasav matzinu kama gedolim she'amar liYenuka pasukli pisukayach. Tell me your pasuk. V'oisim ma'isa al pi pasuk, and they would act upon the pasuk. V'choshvin zeh ke'inyan nevuah. In other words, that the child would tell you a pasuk is not beged nichish all. It's beged a shtickle nevuah. Kleimar zelahoya min nichush. It's not superstition. Ela min nevuah. Umishemhachi shari udvarv kidivei aran shekasafti b'samach. So says the Rambam that you're not allowed to be samach on the words of a pasuk kuschayich. Again, that would be nichush to act upon it. But as a siman toiv of a past event, that's very good. We asked from Agamara. Agamara is being soimich on future events. To answer the Rambam, the Beis Yosef, the Kesef Mishnah says, the Rambam would agree over here, since there are other attributing factors, such as the noise that Rav Chisda made, and such as the people who were involved there, that you can trust them, that the Rambam would agree you could be, because you're not totally being soimich on the pasuk. The Smag says, no, you could be totally samach in the pasuk. It's a gather asking the child nevuah. Now, I think it's very important. Why dafka a child? Why don't you just go into the base medrash and say to an older person, what's the pasuk you heard? What's the pasuk you heard? So I believe this is again my own interpretation. The Gemara says la'acha churban abayis la'nitna nevuah el l'shoitim ukatanim bolvad. After the churban bayis, right? After Churban Bayis, Nevuah was only given to Shoitim Ukatanim. So my Rebbe Zatzal, he was in the Vilna ghetto, and his daughter, who was, I think, was 4 years old at the time, told him to leave the ghetto. And Rashiva used this concept that Lacha Churban Nitna, right? Nevuah El Shaitim Katanim. His daughter was a katana, and he listened to her, and he survived. And the people were killed. He survived. So I think over here it's the same thing with a child. The child saying his pasuk leit smag, which is beged in nevuah, is licked in this din that Hashkadosh Baruch Hu gives some type of extra ruach hakodesh nevuah to what? To a young child, and therefore it's dafka their pasuk, not the pasuk of an adult that would discern that. But that the mela, since it's beged in nevuah, fellas, it would not be samech on nichush. I won't come on to nichush. I think it's a very nice piece. Again, you want to know the source. The Rambam is in the Hilchos Avodas Kechavim. It's in Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Hey. Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Hey. Tomorrow we'll be seeing the last Perek Yud Aleph, the final halacha there, where we get into refuahs and incantations and different things. So again, we don't want to miss tomorrow's share. Just a little heads up what's going on here, as the summer schedule is being, the previews for the releases in the summer. Okay. Anyway, says the Gemara Vayta. So therefore, Rav Sheshes escaped these horrible people. He was able to escape. So now we're discussing Shadim. We're discussing Shadim. So therefore, we continue to discuss Shadim. Now, I think it behooves us to go ahead and hear the following. It's a good marmakom for Shadim. We're familiar with the Gemara in the beginning of Brachas Tavav, but Chagiga Tezayin. Chagiga Tezayin is a good marmakom for if you want to know something about Shadim with the Marsha and in all these places. Says Chagiga Tezayin. Listen to Gemara. Tanabanan. Shisha Devarim Nemru b'Shadim. There's 6 things it says about Shadim. 6 things that says about Shadim. I believe I quoted it by heart last night. Here it is inside. Shleisha Kamalchi Ashares. The Shadim in 3 ways are like Malchi Ashares. Ushleisha Kabnei Adam, in 3 ways they're like people. Shleisha Kamalchi Ashares. How are demons like Malachim? 1, Yeshlam Kinafayim Kamalchi Ashares. They have wings like Malchi Ashares. They can fly. Next, in addition, V'tasin Misayfa Olam Bat Sayfai. And they can get to any place in the world. There are places that a person can't get to. Maybe Bisman Azeh we can, but the South Pole, the North Pole, physically, they're able to get to places that we can't get to. And I assume in the universe as well, there are places that we can't get to. And finally, they know the future. No, the Malachim don't know the future. They can listen from behind the curtain like Malachi Asharis. Okay, so 3 ways they're like Malachim. They can fly. There's no limit to in the universe where they can be, and they know a little bit about the future by eavesdropping on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In 3 ways they're like men. They eat like people. They multiply like people. And 3, and they die like people. So those are the ways. So they have similarities to Malachim, and they have similarities to Basav Adam. So now we're going to begin a sugya, a whole story about Ashmedai, who was the king of the demons, and Shlomo needed him for a purpose, and that's why we bring this incident in, one of the more famous incidents in Shas. Says Shlomo HaMelech, Asisi li sharim v'sharois. I made myself what? Sharim are males, Visharais females, I guess musicians. The Sanugais b'nei Adam and Tanug delights b'nei Adam Shida v'Shidais. Now we're gonna have to see what does this pasuk mean? Sharim v'Sharais, right? These are type of musical instruments. The Tanugais b'nei Adam elu brechos machetzios. These are what? These are bathhouses and pools. Shida v'Shidais. Pacha tirgmu shida v'shida. Here in Babel they said it's male and female demons. In Marava Amri shidata, it means a chariot, because we had a person goes into Eretz Ha'amim b'shida teva migdal. Remember we discussed how could a nazir go into Chutz La'aretz, right? B'shida teva migdal. A shida would be a type of, that's where the word comes from. Amar Rabbi Yochanan shloisha meyos mine shedim haya b'shichin. In the town of Shichin, there were 300 types of Shadim. The Shida Atzma Ini Das Mahi. And I don't know what what the I don't know about exactly what they are. They say, I saw a shot, they change colors all the time. Since they change colors all the time, you don't know exactly which one is which. Amamar, shida v'shidita. They said it means shadim, male and female, and shida v'shidita my iboiles. The question is, going back over to Brisa, what reason did Shlomo need what shadim for? What reason did he need it for? Dichsiv, v'habayis bi nasai even shlema, masa nivna. So it says that in the Beis Hamikdash, when it was built, it was made of whole stones. Now the question is, how do you get a whole stone without cutting it? Samul Rabbanan, Hechi Ovid. How can I do this? How can I go ahead without getting stones without cutting them with an iron tool? So Amalei, the Chacham said, Ika Shmira, the Isi Moshe le'avnei ephod. There's the shamir that Moshe used to make the stones on the ephod. The ephod, you had to have, guys, what did it have to do? It had to be engraved, but it couldn't have been chiseled out, because if you chiseled it out, it would take away from the stone. So you needed some type of device to go ahead and keep it intact, yet have it engraved. The shamir, they would take the yai and they would put it over the letter what they wanted. They put the shamir on the letter, and the shamir, what exactly it was is questionable, but we know it was a tiny creature. It was very, very small, the shamir. And we think most of the people say it was a type of worm. And this shamir, you'd put it on the ephod, and it would go ahead and eat away at the tracing of the ink, and you get your letter without being mechaser, without taking away any of the volume of the stone. Okay, so now the idea was, well, he could use it for this. I could use it for great. I go ahead, I'll take the shamir, I'll put it on stone, and it'll cut. So Amalahu, Heicha Ishtachach. Where am I going to find the shamir? So Amulei, so the Chacham told Shlomo, Aisan Shida v'Shidatin, go ahead and bring a male and female shade, Kavshinu Adadi, press them together, or put them in prison, for lashon of Kavash, the Beis Asurim. Efshad the Yadai Megalach, maybe they'll tell you. So I saw Pshat, why would the Shadim know about the Shamir? Of all the things, why would the Shadim know about the Shamir? So it seems that the Ein Yaakov says, beautiful. In the Mishnah in Avos Perek Hey, Mishnah Vav, says the things that were created Ben Hashmasha is right before Shabbos, guys. We spoke out the other day, the Shadim were created Ben Hashmasha right before Shabbos. Therefore, they were a half a human being. They weren't completed. But the Shomer was also completed every Shabbos, at Ben Hashmasha. So it says in Yaakov, they would hang out together. Since they were created at the same time, they would be in the same cahoots with each other. I think it's a nice shot. So, anyway, Asi Shida v'Shidata Kavshinu Adadi Amri Anan Lo Yadina. We don't know where the Shomer is. However, Dilmei Ashmedai Malka the Sheda Yada. Maybe Ashmedai, who is the Melech, he would know. So Amalahu Hechi Isa. Where is Ashmedai? So Amalei Isa Bitura Plan. There's a mountain plan, such and such a mountain, and that's where he lives. And Karele Biru Umalyale Maya. He digs for himself a bar. He fills it with water. Umechasi Bitinra. He covers it up with some type of stone. The Chasme V'Gushbanke. And then he goes ahead and he puts a seal on it that he would know if anyone touched it. Each day he goes to learn in Shemayim, Mesifta the Rakia. So Ashmedai spends his day learning. He goes to Shemayim and learns, and he goes to Aretz and learns. Says the Maral beautifully, guys, based upon the Gemara in we just did it in Chagiga, since it's like a person in Malachei Shares. So it learns in Malachei Shares in Mesifta the Rakia. But since it's like Bnei Adam, it learns in the Sifta the Arar also. So that would be a beautiful explanation of why he goes to both places, because he has shaykhs to both places. That's what the Maral Miprag. He then comes back, and what does he do? He makes sure that no one touched his seal. He goes and he drinks. And then he goes ahead and covers it up. This is his source for life. This pit, this is the source for life, and therefore he covers it up and he watches it very well. So now we got location. It's a certain location. We have his diet, and now Shlomo sends bin Yadu ben Yada Ish, who Mamish had, as we're going to see, a very bright individual. He sends him on a job to capture Ashmedai. Yavle shilta dechakik ala shem. He gave him a shilta, a chain, and on that, like a chain, like a, and on it was engraved like the 42 letters of Hashem's name. The isksa dechakik ala shem, and a ring that had Hashem's name on it. The gavave the amra bezike the chamra. He gave him balls of wool, and he gave him a barrel of wine that he skinned these barrels, the leather skin barrels. Azal, went and kare bira mitatoy. He dug a pit. Now let's say he's on a mountain, so picture Ashmedai's pit over here. He dug a pit below it, and then he made a hole in that, right? So what happened? That it all flowed out. All the water flowed out into the lower pit, and then what did he do? He took the tsemer and he stuffed it up. So ushefine lamaya, the water came flowing out. The satmini begavedim, and then he plugged it up using the wool. The kara bira mialoi. Then he made a pit on top, and he put a hole in that pit. The shachzinu lechamra, he poured wine into that pit, and that pit then the upper pit, the wine then went and flowed into the lower pit. The taminu, right, and then he filled both pits with earth, and therefore, what did you have? You had a sealed pit full of wine. In other words, he took the water out by the lower pit, and he filled it up with wine from the upper pit. He filled them up, you wouldn't know they existed, and therefore what? So now, Salak Yasa Bila, then when he sat in a tree and he wanted to see what's going to happen. Kiyasa Ashmedai shows up, Sarya Legushmanka, he checks his seal, Galia Ashtei Chamra, he uncovers it, and what does he see? Omar, Ksiv, let's Hayayin, Hayme Sheikha, guess what? When you go ahead and deal with wine, it's not such a good thing. You go nuts. Anything immorality. In other words, basically, Ashmedai, who learned in yeshiva, knew enough to stay away from yayin, right? He learned in yeshiva and to stay away from wine. Lo yeshtei, didn't drink. However, he's waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and kitzachale, saigale, it wasn't enough. He couldn't resist anymore. So ishtei rava begana. What happened? He drank. The wine had its effect, and he went to sleep. Nachas asabinyo came. Shade bei sheshilta. He went ahead. He took the chain and he threw it on Ashmedai. Sasme closed it around his neck. Ki issa havikov imparsa. When Ashmedai woke up, he started moving around. Amalei ben Yo said to him, "Shema demarach Allah, Shema demarach Allah." The name of Hashem repeated twice is upon you. You're not getting out of this because this chain is Hashem's name. He nakalevi asi. Then Yo now is taking Ashmedai back to Yerushalayim. Mata dikla, he came and he hit a tree, and chum shaja. What happened? He knocked it down. Mata lebesa shaja came hit a house, knocked that down too. Mata gabe kuva dahi amalta. There was this hut where a widow was living in, and the widow saw what's coming at what was going on. And after the widow came out on the base, in Ichanele, she mamish was yes, like lashon chen, gracious. She was asking chen from Ashmedai to not touch her hut. Kafva lekume mine. I guess it was very hard to avoid, and he had to twist his body. And it as a result of twisting his body, he broke a bone. Again, there's always, anytime you have these agaritas guys, there's always beneath the surface messages that are beyond the scope of the share. But anyway, this is the story. It barbe garma, and he broke a bone. So Amar Hainu Dechsiv, the Lashon Racha Tishba Garim. Right? Again, the Lashon Racha, a people speaking softly can break a bone, because I listened to the bakasha of this woman. Chaz Samya Dahavi Kotoya Borcha. Ashmedai saw a Samya, a blind person, that he was lost. He was dazing around. Askel Urche went ahead and he put him in the right path. Chaz Ravya Dahavi Kotoya Borcha. He saw a drunk that was going ahead and he was dazing around. Askel Urche, he put him in the right path. Chaz Chedvasa Dahavi Kamachdele. He saw this simcha, it was his wedding, and Bachi started to cry. Shamelu Gavad Avi Komale Ushbacha. He heard this person telling a shoemaker, Avali Masani Lebeshev Shani, make me shoes that'll last me 7 years. Achich Ashma started laughing. Chazu Kasma Dahavi Kosim. He saw this magician who'd been goisik in sorcery. Achich, and he laughed. Okay, we're going to get back to each one of these things, right? We'll get there soon. Kimat Lahasam, when Ashmedai came, Like Shloima at Filsiyama. They didn't bring him to Shloima for 3 days. Yuma Kama, the first day, they said, how come not bring take the Shloima? Amayla Keboili Malka Lagadei. Samalei, and say Mishta. They told him that Shlomo had a hangover. Shlomo had a hangover, right? So he couldn't come. So Shokal Levente, Ashmai took a brick and he put it on top of another brick. So Asu Amalei the Shlomo, he told Shlomo what Ashmai did. Amalahu Hachilamu. Shlomo said, this is what Ashmai was telling me. Hodor Ashkuya, go ahead and drink a little more. So it seems for people who are interested, if you're drunk and you wake up with a hangover, you know what you should do? Drink a little more. As I state. And that's why he put the brick on another brick. I know some smiles on certain faces over here. So the next day, the next day, a cat come, I'm not being brought the second day. So Amalei, Ansei Michla. You know what happened? He ate too much. Ansei Michla, he ate too much. There's a Gemara in Megillah, and Daf Yomi says that when a person drinks a lot, you have to eat more than you drink. So this was catch 22. He had to drink more to overcome his hangover. And then he had to eat more to overcome the amount that he drank. And therefore, Shlomo was not feeling well because he ate too much. It was that's the way the Ein Yaakov goes ahead and learns Pshat over here. So for a second day, first day too much drink, second day too much food. Okay. Shakal levinte michave oistei ara. So Ashmei then took the one brick off the other brick. Asam Shlomo, what Ashmei adon amalahu hachi amalahu. The gide minei. Go ahead, don't give him to eat. So therefore, when he put one brick on top, he said drink more wine. When he took one brick off, he says take less food. So the Seif till Siyomi Alakanei. At the end of 3 days, they brought Ashmei in front of Shlomo. Shakal Kanya Umoshach Arba Gamide B'Shada Kamei Ashmei. He took a Kanya, he measured off 4 amos, and he threw it in front of Shlomo. Amalei Michtik Himayas Ahu Gavra Less Lebahade Oma Eladal Gamide. When you die, all you're getting is 4 amos for your burial. Hashta Kavshtel Kulyama Shlomo. You conquered the whole world. It wasn't enough that you conquered the whole world. You have to conquer me as well. Amalei says Shlomo, I don't want to conquer you. I don't have to conquer you. I wish you stayed on your mountain. I don't need you at all. However, I got to build a Beis Hamikdash. They call me Boile Shemira, and I need a Shamir. So I need it. So Amalei, the Shamir wasn't given to me. The Shara de Yama Masali. It seems that the Shamir is Megadel in water, and therefore it was given over to the Sar Shel Yam, the master of the sea. However, the Tanagala Bara, and the only person he trusts to give it to is this type of wild chicken. This wild chicken is believed to take it and use it and bring it back. Why does this wild chicken do with it? He brings it to a mountain that has nothing growing on it. And the Shina, literally the top of the mountain, he puts the Shamir, the mountain then cracks open. The chicken brings seeds, from trees, and throws it into the cracks that the Shamir had made. And now the mountain becomes vegetated. Okay, so that's what happens. So you want to know why a mountain has vegetation is because of this. In the Torah, there's a bird called the chufas, and the chufas is called Nagar Tura. The Nagar, it's the carpenter, literally the one who cuts through mountains. So it seems that this Nagar Tura is the Tarnagal Bar. Batku Kina the Tarnagal Bar, the Islay Beni. They found a nest of this certain bird, and again, we're going to get to Shamir. They went ahead and they covered up the chicks that were there. They covered them up with a white glass. So when the bird would come, it would see its chicks, but it would not be able to get to it. So it came back and wanted to feed the little birdies, and it came back and it couldn't get to him it came up with a great idea. How do you break through a hard object? Brought the shamir and put it on top of it and to crack the glass. Roma Beikala. So the servants of Shlomo, what do? They scared the chicken, and it jumped and went Shadia Shakle, and then they took what? The chicken dropped the shamir, and they took it. Also, was saying that this wild chicken, it had a shvua to give it back to the Sar Shel Yam, and now it couldn't, and therefore why it choked itself as a result. Okay, so now that's what happened with how we got to shamir. Now going back to the Maisa with Ashmedai and Binayada, he's going to ask on certain things that happen. Now he's not going to ask why when he brushed against the tree it knocked it down, when he brushed against the house and knocked it down, because B'teva Shadim are mazikim. That's what they're called, mazikim, right? They're called mazikim. So when he did an act of hezek, that was not a question to Binayada. The question he had is when he did an act of chesed. That would be out of character. So when he did an act of chesed, what's the story over there? Amar Binayahu, my taima ki chazize lehu samya davi katoya beurcha is stakla beurcha. Why, when you saw the blind guy going the road, why did you put him the right way? Samalei machros they Allah berakia the tzaddik. They were machros in Shemayim. There's a tzaddik gamar. Uman da'avalei nicha nafshei zachaloma da'asei. Whoever goes ahead and takes care of this blind man will be zeichet to the next world. So you see from this Gemara that a shade can die, like a man can die, and also a shade can be zeichet to Olam Haba. When you saw the drunk, why did you put him in the right way? That this guy's a Rasha Gama. So therefore, what do I want to do? I want him to have about his hana in this world, because he's not going to get in the next, right? My time why do you cry about a wedding? The husband is going to die within 30 days. So I cried that, this is going to be very short-lived marriage. And he has a 13-year-old, he has a younger brother who just was born. And this woman now, after a marriage of 30 days, is going to have to wait 13 years till the baby grows up to give her yibum. That's why I cried. A very sensitive shade. My time shmate lahu gavra the amalach lushpuche avale the mesane shevashin achik. Why did you laugh when the guy told a shoemaker to make him a shoe for 7 years? So Amalei said, "Who shiva yomi last night?" Right? Mesane l'shevashin boyin. The guy is going to be dead in 7 days. Does he need what shoes for 7 years? No, these are obviously he heard Achrei Paragid about these individuals, the chassan dying after 30 days, and the person who bought the shoes 7 days. So Shlomo kept Ashmedai with him till they finished building the Beis Hamikdash. One day, Shlomo was talking to Ashmedai. Amalei kisiv kisei afas re'em loy. Right, the hard places are his. The Aminon. What does that mean? Because afas elu malchei ashares.
Rabbi, you missed a my timer. We didn't do the last my timer.
My timer kichazit elu. Oh, I'm sorry. My timer kichazit elu kasm davi kosam achichas. I'm sorry. Why when the guy was busy with magic? Why were you laughing? Amalei davi Yosef abe Gaza de Malka. He was sitting on a king's treasury. So what good does this magic do if you can't even figure out what's underneath him, right? So that's why I left. Okay. Tarti Gabi had the money based on Migdash. She kept him by him until based on Migdash. She was standing by him. This is a very sad story. And even Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, can make a mistake. So he wanted to know, why are malachim and shadim greater than people? So my why are you greater than us? So Amalei Ashmedai said, "Shoko sheshultamina, take the chain off me, v'havli iskach, and give me your ring, Shlomo, and I'll show you." This is not a good idea. Not a good idea. Anyway, Shlomo shakle sheshultamina, v'yavli iskase. He took the chain off Ashmedai with Hashem's name on it that had kept him in prison for all these years, and Shlomo gave him his own ring, Balei, right? So now, when Ashmedai, who was no longer under the chains, what did he do? Two pshatim. He either swallowed the ring or he swallowed Shlomo. or he swallowed Shlomo. Oisvei lechad gape b'rakia. Ashbadai put one of his wings to the Shmayim, the lechad gape ba'ara, and one to the earth, and paske arba ma parse, and he threw Shlomo a distance. He spewed him out a distance of 400 parses. So now there's no king in Klal Yisrael. Alei Shaitam Shlomo, regarding this time, Shlomo said, "Ma Yisron la'adam b'chol hamalai." What good is there for a person? All his labor, Shalom Tachas Hashemesh. After all, look what can happen to me. I built the Beis Hamikdash, I captured Ashima, I got the Shomer, and look, now I am throneless. This is my portion. My v'zeh, what does it zeh mean? Shmuel chadam makloi. Zeh meaning all he had was his stick. The chadam gundoy once said he had his cloak. That's all he had. Now the Shlomo Melech now is what? Is begging door to door for food. He's going door to door. He would say, I'm Kaheles. I was the king of Yisrael in Yerushalayim. Kimata Gabi Sanhedrin. When he came to Sanhedrin, he told them who he was. If a person is out of his mind, he doesn't go ahead and stick to the same story. He says it babbles a lot of different things, but this person is saying the same thing over and over again. So what's going on over here? So Amalei ben Ayahu, they said to ben Ayahu, has the Melech asked you to come to him? No. In other words, ben Ayahu would have recognized right away Ashmedai. Obviously, Ashmedai must look like Shlomo, but ben Ayahu, in his greatness that he was able to capture him, he would have discerned the difference. They went, then they sent to the queens. Shlomo had many wives. Kaasi Malka Legabaichu have you seen the king? So Sholchulei in Kaasi, yes, he comes. And you know what? But something's very interesting. Sholchulahu, Bitku Bekare, did you examine his feet? Sholchulei Bemuke Kaasi. He always comes in wearing muki. He's always wearing socks, right? We know that it's known that Shadim have what? Have chicken feet. They have chicken feet. That's one of the Gemaras in Brachas. You should put around your bed, you put ashes, and you'll see the imprint of a chicken. They always say that no one ever saw Hitler with his shoes off. That's a state. I don't know. If you heard that, then you heard that. I heard that. And if a Katava Laban in the Sayu, but not only that, he never takes his shoes off, but when we're needus, he's Taiveos Vatashmish. He wants to have relations. And not only that, he even solicited his mother Batsheva. So obviously, there's a lot of strange behavior going on with this king. So Asur Shlomo, they brought Shlomo, and they gave him a ring and a chain that had Hashem's name on it, because they were convinced that Shlomo was he was, and the false Shlomo was Ashmedai. Ki Ayel, when Shlomo came in the room, so now Ashmedai knew it's time to literally flew the coop. Chazi Porach, and Ashmedai saw him, and he flew away. Nonetheless, Shlomo was scared. Shlomo sat around with 60 warriors circling his bed. Because he was so scared of Ashmedai. Rabbi Shmuel, what happened to Shlomo? That Shlomo was a melech and afterwards a hedyet, and he never got back to being the king. According to the Marsha, he never got back to be the king at all. According to the Marshal, he never got back to being the complete king. We know Shlomo was melech over the Tachtonim and the Elyonim. He never got back to being the king of the Elyonim, but he did get back to being the king of the Tachtonim. The Chadam, one of them says, melech vehedyet melech. He said that what? A melech and a hedyet melech. First he was a melech, then he was a hedyet when he was thrown away from Ashmedai, and then he was a melech again. So Bez Hashem, tomorrow we're going to begin the sugya of refuos. And thank you for listening. Tomorrow night, Bez Hashem in Shul, probably 8:35, not 8:45, 8:35. I'll post on the chat.